The Bible says that Jesus defeated Satan, stripped him of authority, and in fact, at one point in the scriptures, it says that he paralyzed him. Which the bottom line is, the devil doesn't have any power to do anything. The only thing he can do is run his mouth, and in so doing, create ideas or thoughts that he tries to permeate your thinking and my thinking with. And if he can get enough people speaking the same thing, then he can do some pretty nasty stuff through their words. It's the words of people that dictate more than anything else the things that happen in this earth, particularly in the arena of nature. I want you to understand that. The Bible's full of examples of that. Elijah prayed and it did not rain for 3.5 years. Elijah prayed and it rained. And so again, we see this time and again. All right. The example of that is the storm that we see two of them in the Gospels. The first was when Jesus had taught the people in Mark chapter 4. That's where the sower sows the word. In Mark chapter 5, he told his disciples to go over to the other side. Or he said, let us go to the other side. He went to sleep and they put him in the back of the boat. And on the way over, now listen, he's sleeping in the hinder part of the ship. This is not a dinghy. This thing could be 35 feet long. Can be 15 feet across. And it was a fishing boat, all right? And Jesus is in the back of this thing asleep, but a storm comes up on the Sea of Galilee. The boat's about to sink, the waves are high, the wind is boisterous. Jesus is soaking wet in the back of the boat. Didn't have any way to keep people dry. You got wet. But he's still asleep. Because he had made the command, let us go to the other side. Words mean something. And the words of Jesus were, let's go to the other side. If the rest of them had drowned in a storm, Jesus would have woke up on the other side. Because that's what he had said. But in the midst of that, they woke him up. And Jesus gets up. Now, think with me for a moment. The storm that came in Noah's day, God caused it. It was judgment. But in that he spared Noah and his wife and his 3 sons and their wife. God caused the storm that was put out there to arrest Jonah, to bring him back into alignment with where God wanted him. In those storms, those who followed God, in the first case with Noah and his family, in the case of Jonah, all of those on the ship that did what Jonah said, none of them were harmed. They all lived. God sends those storms, but he sends them for a purpose. When people see a storm and they start calling this is the judgment of God, like the storm that hit New Orleans a few years ago and the other storms that we've seen around, and people say, that's the judgment of God, they are dead wrong. They're out of their mind. There are other places in the world that needed judging a lot more than New Orleans. A lot more hellish than New Orleans. But so God didn't do that. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. There are storms that Satan brings up to try to destroy the work of the Lord. That was the Sea of Galilee. He was trying to kill Jesus and the disciples. Jesus got up and calmed the storm. If God had been the one who caused that storm, like a lot of people think God's in control, then Jesus would have been speaking against his Father to calm the storm. Then the other time that we see in the Gospels is when Jesus told his disciples, you go to the other side while I go up the hill here and pray. They got in the boat. They started for the other side. In the middle of the Sea of Galilee, a storm. Jesus came walking to them on the water. In both cases, those storms were not sent by God, designed by God. They were sent by the devil. Somehow he got that deal going. But those storms arose, and in that they were trying to destroy the work of the kingdom. In both of those, Jesus won. He woke up and calmed the storm. In the other one, he wasn't on the ship, but rather than see his ministry destroyed, he came walking to them on the water in the storm. Understand that. There's a fourth kind of storm. Let me read to you from Romans chapter 8, beginning in verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature, Romans 8:19.